Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rewind and Reflect, where we believe in the universal truth that nothing happens by mistake or coincidence. And we are here to share some of our life experiences on that topic with you. My name is Deb Miller.
Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Doyle. Hi, Deb.
Sue, how you doing today on this?
You know what? I think it might hit 70 here and the sun is out.
Oh,
So,
very
so
nice.
far, so good. I'm
Good.
actually doing really well. I don't have a lot of things new to report, but
Good. I like that. And
listen, life is good. I like
I,
status quo.
me too. I used to my mantra during the time when Hunter was sick was enjoy the gift of an ordinary day because
Amen.
uh,
Amen.
it's
Yeah,
just it is a gift to have just ordinary, no drama, no nothing that you have to think about. Um,
Yeah, I woke up, I kind of went to bed with a clear head, woke up with a clear head. I mean, I have obviously things to do for work and things to do around the house, but
of course, yeah.
yeah, I like to say I like status quo. I like
Status quo
status
is good.
quo. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
talking to a friend this weekend who is not enjoying the gift of an ordinary day. She's going through some pretty rough stuff. And we had this really interesting conversation about when you're going through hard times, it can be surprising who's there for you and who's not. Like we all have our friends that we would think would be there for us and with us, the ride or die, so to speak, is what people are saying now. Uh,
Yeah.
but she's going through some stuff and she's been really disappointed that people that she thought would be there for her haven't shown up. They're, just left her side. And I think it's hard enough going through what she's going through, but then also to kind of have to take a look at your evaluate your friendships and be like, what the heck? Where did you
Yeah.
go? And I was telling her, and I would love to talk about this topic today if you think it's relevant. We all go through really tough things in our life. And whether it's, you know, a divorce or loss of a child or loss of a
I
parent. I mean,
see.
there's a million different
Yeah.
things.
There's a
Million
million
different
things.
things. And when I first when the cat first came out of the bag about my addiction, I had friends that I had had for since I was 7, 8 years old that were in my wedding party that were, we were raising our children together. We lived right up the street from each other. They scattered like mice. And I was like, what the hell? And it just left me feeling really isolated and lonely and just awful. And I struggled with that for a very long time, thinking like, what the hell? Like and one day I did run into this woman, this friend of mine, and I asked her, why what happened? Like we were so close and then this happened and I really needed a friend and you just ran the opposite direction. I do not understand that. And she apologized and she said to me, you're always the one that we would go to for help. We would turn to you when we needed advice or we were going through something. And she was talking about this other friend. There was three, a couple of them. And she said, so I guess I didn't know what to do when you were the one who needed help because the roles had reversed.
Right.
I was the one that was always there to kind of listen and guide and help. And then the roles were reversed and they did not know what to do. And I'm not excusing that behavior because even if you're in a position where your friend's going through something and you're like, I don't know how I can help them or it makes me nervous, this whole situation, just say that.
Right.
Just say I want to be here for with you, but I don't know how to help you. So because this is the lesson that I learned, and this is what I try to share with my friend. Like, we choose people to be in our lives for different reasons. Sometimes we need somebody who is an exercise buddy who we can, not me personally, but I'm thinking more of you.
You know, that whole sweating thing that you got going on, or
Right.
not sweating thing you
Not
got going
sweating.
on.
And it's like, okay, so you have that in common and you're able to, support each other to reaching goals.
Hmm.
Okay. And then you've got those friends that like, you're not going to like have any serious conversations with them, but you're going to laugh your ass off when you're together. And you need that as well. And then you've got the friends that you know are going to be there when the crisis hits. Okay. You might not talk to them frequently, but you know that they're true blue and you
Hmm.
can call them when they're. So everybody has different strengths in a relationship. And what I learned is that in the past, I'd be like, if you didn't show up for me then, I don't want you in my life. Without taking into consideration what was it that scared them away from helping me in that situation.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So instead of throwing away the friendship because they're only good at one part of it, I've learned to just accept that some people have different strengths and others don't. So I'm going to take what I can from that friendship and leave the rest in the sense that I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not going to throw the friendship away because they didn't show up when I needed them to, or maybe they did show up and they were too overwhelming, or maybe they showed up at a time when I
Hmm.
didn't want anybody to show up. Who knows? But our expectations of our friends really, I feel like sometimes need to be managed because we're all human beings and we can't be
Yeah.
all that all the time.
Yeah, you just sort of read my mind when you were speaking, and I was thinking it's really a matter of just setting realistic expectations. Just like we try, we should be setting realistic expectations for ourselves, right? I mean, we've talked a lot on here about giving ourselves grace when we don't know what to do, or giving ourselves grace for taking a left turn when we probably should have taken a right turn or something like that. And and it should expand out from yourself to others, where number one, managing the expectation of others in your life, and giving them grace, and also for me, it's also like we need to give them the benefit of the doubt. And what you said, you kind of hit home, like maybe they really didn't know what to do, and maybe they didn't have the words to say that to you, or this person, this friend of yours. Um,
Or maybe my situation is triggering them in some way.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So, when we say people don't show up for us, it is our interpretation of them not showing up for us, when it could very well be that they're showing up the way that they know how, but what we need is something different.
Right. Or even saying like, I think a lot of us say, well, I would never do that. I would never do that to that person. I would show up. But we're all individual people and we all have our
Yeah.
reasons for doing what we do. And I'm not going to say that I don't know if I would show up for somebody if they're in some kind of crisis. I'd like to say that I would, but then again, it's like I don't know what my frame of mind would be. I don't know what my life circumstances would be. I don't know what my situation on that particular day would be. So I'd like to say like, oh, I'm, true blue, ride or die to all my friends, but quite honestly, I'm not. It's
No, I mean,
impossible
I
to
think,
be.
I think just like everything else in your life, like there are people who have, roles, right, in your life. There's also people who have, different places in your life. There's also people who show up at different times in your life, like childhood or young adulthood, or when your kids are little or when your kids are older. And it's just one of those things that just like you can't be everything to everybody, the people in your life can't be everything to you
Right.
or somebody else. There's a large part of like managing an expectation. It's funny because I remember a conversation that I started with you, and I really think like I was in the supermarket. For some reason, like we have weird conversations while we're in the supermarket, right? And it was after we had reconnected in Walmart of all places. Um, and I think, to put it into vernacular, I was in my way making amends to you, where I know that I was the one who sort of cut things off,
Mhm.
right? And I know that, I felt like I needed to apologize to you because I also felt that I had no idea what you were going through with your addiction. And I really didn't have any idea that Hunter was sick at the
Mm.
beginning.
Mhm.
Once we reconnected in between some of his surgeries where he was cancer free, but he wasn't really 100% out of the woods with some of the reconstructive surgeries that he needed.
Right.
And I felt this need to apologize to you, that I was not there for you. And you said something to me that was just so, it landed, and it also made me cry when you said, it's okay. It's okay because I don't think you would have known what to do.
Mhm.
And I said to you, in regards to your addiction, yes, I would not have been a good friend for you.
Mhm.
In that time, I would have been judgmental. I would have been um, very one-sided. I would have come at it with blinders on. And I think from that point on, after that conversation, I have been able to sort of look at situations with a broader lens
Mhm.
and say, okay, like, can I show up for this person the way they need me to?
Mhm.
Now, I don't run away like I did before,
Mhm.
but I also don't judge somebody for running away
Right.
from me. Do you know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
And the same thing, but now I understand that, when we reconnected and there were some things that you were still having to tackle and having to um I don't want to say deal with, but having to tackle with Hunter and his health,
Mhm.
I do remember saying like, what do you need from me right now?
Right. Right. Right.
And there was a time too that I had called you and I was complaining about something. And I'm like, oh my God, look at me. Like I'm complaining about this and you have this to deal with. And you were like, no, 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 no. This to you, you don't have a sick child. You don't have a whatever. This
Mhm.
to you is a large thing.
Mhm.
Let it be a large thing. Um, so
Well,
you also gave me grace in saying, our lives are not the same. Like what I am tackling is something huge is different than you're huge, and it's okay.
yeah, of course. Well, and the other thing is, it felt really good to me when people would call me and talk to me about what they were going through, because it took me out of the world of what I was living and gave me some normalcy. I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
Mhm.
because everybody wanted to talk about, what was going on with Hunter, how I was doing, da 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 da. And I was just like, I
I don't
just
want to
need
talk about
to,
this anymore.
I know, I just need to be around normal conversation, and people complaining about whatever is happening in their life, because that's what I needed. And
Right.
it's funny because when you just never know what somebody needs based on the situation that they're in, okay? Because when I was struggling with my addiction, uh, I I was really embarrassed and ashamed about it. So I didn't necessarily want people in my life trying to like bringing that to the surface. But
Mm-hmm.
when when I came into recovery is when I really wanted and needed this emotional, spiritual, and physical support of people because
Right.
it was so hard to try to get my life back on track. And that's where, you know, I realized some people will be there and some people weren't. Now, with Hunter being sick, a lot of people showed up and I loved and appreciated every single one of them. But I also was so overwhelmed that part of me was just like, I can't tend to you. I can't tend to the attention that you're giving me right now because I'm just not in a place where I can pay attention to it.
Right.
And
Right.
so it goes like that too, you know, you have to, and so some people like didn't reach out at all. Some family members did not reach out at all. But afterwards, when he was better and he was, you know, they would say to me, I just didn't know what to do or what to say. It scared me. It scared me. And I didn't know if me reaching out would be welcomed or, and so everybody had their reasons and it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's okay. Like I think we all have to just understand that our friends' reaction to what we're going through, you know, we might look at it like, oh, they've disappointed me, they've let me down. But at the same time, there's no coincidence or mistake that that person was
Right.
in your life at that time.
Right.
So, you know, your friendship might take a little dip, but they'll come back into your life when it's meant to be and meant to happen.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about your friend who, is going through a rough time, and she was, lamenting to you that she was surprised at
Mhm.
some of the people that aren't showing up for her, or haven't checked on her, or haven't asked how she's doing, or things like that. Um, for me, again, there's no coincidences. Maybe the universe is sending her a message that she needs to do some of this on her own.
Mhm. Oh, that's very true. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a lesson. There's something in there
Right.
that
Right.
the universe is telling her that it needs to land with her, and she doesn't need a diversion of um answer,
Or opinion or
somebody
yeah,
else's solution.
right.
She needs to solve, or
Yeah.
come out the other side, because I'm assuming here that it's a problem to solve, and it may not be a solvable problem. It may just be an experience along her path that the universe is saying to her, you have what you need inside of you, and this is the message I'm sending to you, is don't look outside of yourself.
Right. Taking away the distractions.
Correct. Because
Yes.
we all know when we're going through a really rough time, there's nothing better than a distraction to make us feel like, oh, well, we're solving. Like, I got friends, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then really what ends up happening is you're just kicking the rock down the road a little farther, and you're delaying
Inevitable.
the inevitable. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word.
I know. I read your mind.
And so it's, to me, it's the universe saying there is a lesson in here that only you can learn
Right.
when you don't have all the noise.
I love that. And okay, so here's what I just took from that, which is so awesome. We always have the answers inside of us. We never need
Amen.
we always have the love, answers, support, and strength inside of us. We never need to look externally for that.
Which is completely different than going at life alone. You're not alone.
Right.
There's a complete difference between pushing everybody away and saying, I'm doing this by myself. I don't need anybody. I don't blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
Then the universe saying to you, you have everything you need already inside you. All
Yes.
you need to do is quiet the noise, remove the rocks, and the answer's right there.
Right. I love that. It's so poignant because
Mhm.
for me, especially the type of person that I am, and I've talked about this many times, is that I don't trust my own instincts or decision. I shouldn't say instincts because I do trust my instincts, but my own decision-making capabilities. So I'm the first to lean into people to be like, I don't know what to do here. What can I do? What should I do? What has to happen? Blah, 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 blah. And because I forget that what is truly meant to happen in my life is already in my
Yeah.
spirit and in my brain because
Yeah.
this path has already been carved out for me. It's a
Amen.
matter of just listening and saying, trusting that my thought process is the right one. And when you're very emotional about a situation, it's hard to do that, but we
Yeah, but maybe this person that you're speaking of from your conversation this weekend, maybe she got to where she is
Mhm.
because she ignored all those signals and she ignored those intuitive feelings and she ignored her ability to rely on herself. And this is the unit when people start to, when some people have scattered a little bit,
Mhm.
she's still trying to divert to others. And now the universe is literally yanking these people away from her
Right,
and
yeah.
saying to her, it's self-reflection time.
Self-reflection time.
Yeah. And
So hard
the
to
only
do.
way that you're going to learn how to do this is if I remove these people from your path right now.
Yeah, yeah. Or I add these people because they have a different
Mm-hmm.
perspective that you need to
Mm-hmm.
hear.
Yeah.
But it's so hard when you're going through something
So hard.
that's so traumatic to stop and look at and self-reflect because a lot of times that means you're looking at what your part was in it. And when you're feeling
Yeah.
so emotionally vulnerable to begin with, and then you have to say, okay, well, this I played a big part in this, and
Mm-hmm.
now how do I fix that or how do I change it so I don't do it again? It's a lot of work. But
Oh
I
my
think you're
God,
right.
it is so much easier to either ride on somebody's coattails and
Mhm,
then blame them when it doesn't work out, or
mhm.
simply just blame them when it doesn't work out.
Yeah,
I mean, that look in the mirror of what was my part in this, okay, I mean, I can only say to myself, when I was getting divorced is this is not all his fault.
yeah,
The majority of it was my fault. And the majority of it was how I was reacting to the things I didn't have any control over.
right.
You know what I mean? But in that reaction, I'm pointing the finger at him saying, you're making me feel this way. You're making me do. And then it wasn't until again, like I just sort of quieted down. I'm like, I am fully responsible for
Yeah.
my side of the street and 3/4 into his side of the street. I mean, seriously. I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
You just took
a-
up all the space.
right. But, speaking in positive terms, conversely, it's the same thing. You can't put your joy, your happiness, your sense of well being and peace into somebody else's hands.
Yeah.
It's so funny that we say, okay, like, oh my God, this is going so great. I'm doing so well. And then when it turns into like a shitty situation, you're like, what the fuck did this person do to me?
Yeah, right.
And it's human nature. It's totally human nature
Of course it is,
to
because
do
you want
that.
to blame. And I just had a revelation. My marriage fell apart for multiple different reasons, but the part that I played in that was having these expectations that were unrealistic. We went into
Me
that
too.
marriage like, okay, I'm going to be the stay-at-home mom. I'm going to have 6 kids. I'm going to be the soccer mom. You're going to make lots of money. You're going to support us. You're going to this, you're going to do that. And we had our dreams and of what we thought that this was going to look like. And when it didn't look like that, like because I had trouble getting pregnant, I had to go through in vitro. So there goes the, 6 kids.
Idealistic way of popping 6 kids out. So there's
Right.
one.
And
Right.
then, and then all of a sudden life situations start happening and we start self-medicating. And my life was just like, wait, this wasn't what it was supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And I then took it upon myself, to try to fix it. And when that didn't work, I couldn't handle it and I self-medicated. So I didn't go into my marriage thinking, oh, this would be nice, but if it doesn't work out, it'll be okay too. Like I was
Agreed.
never planning on working or doing
In
anything.
your head, you had a role, your ex-husband had a role, these roles were going to work out. This plan was going to, yeah, and you don't necessarily have a contingency plan, you know,
No, because it
and,
never occurred to me that that would not happen. And
right.
now it's
Yeah.
like, and so that's because I looked at my marriage for so long and going, what part did I play in that? I mean, it was an really tough situation. And how could I play a part in his, drug use and abuse and all of that, and the cheating and the all of that, right? But who knows what kind of stress I put on him with my unrealistic expectations of how
Right.
in my life to look, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
So,
And here's the thing, by looking at yourself in that, like the role that you played, by no means is giving him permission
mm,
to have been as abusive to you as he was
mhm.
verbally, whatever. And it wasn't like you're not letting him off the hook for his behavior. What you're doing is you're retaking just responsibility for your part in it so you can forgive.
Right.
That's the other thing. It's when you hold on to those roles and when people continuously stop meeting your expectation, what you're doing is you're going farther and farther and farther away from forgiving yourself for A, reacting that way, B, putting those expectations on, and not really facing what's in front of you.
Yeah. And forgiving the other person. That to me is the biggest
Yes.
thing. Like the
Yes.
friends that you feel like left you down, like give them grace, forgiveness, because the more that you
Mm-hmm.
hold on to that, it's just it's making a mess inside of you. It's taking up headspace and it's
Right.
causing head
Right.
trash. And it's like you got to
Yep.
just forgive them and understand that, they're only capable of so much. And so
Agreed.
be,
Agreed. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Just like, yeah, and the forgiveness thing is just, to me, it just makes space. It
yeah,
just makes space for something new to come in and for you to and for the person who's doing the forgiveness. And for a long time, for a very long time, I always thought that if I forgave the other person and forgave myself, well, first, for a very long time, I didn't think I had to forgive myself, right? And I always thought by forgiving the other person, it was me literally giving them permission to to
behavior.
slight me or behave in a certain way or speak to me in a certain way. And what I was really doing was holding myself down into that unrealistic expectation and role that I thought they had in my life.
Right.
If I could, so if this person that you were speaking to could just forgive those other people for not showing up for her in the way that she thought they should,
Mhm.
it releases and creates space for her to then say, it unmuddles the mind
Right.
and then it gives you the ability to say, okay, what am I supposed to be learning here?
Yeah.
You know, because I
Yeah.
think if you keep blaming people, like, you don't really learn.
No, and the other thing that was just in my head too is sometimes people aren't when somebody's going through a crisis, it's a lot of energy that they're exuding. A lot of um not so it's not like a high positive energy. It's distraught. They're distraught. So that energy is kind of heavy, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if your friend or whomever isn't in the right place spiritually and they're going to take too much of that energy on themselves, that's no good for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So the person that maybe isn't showing up is because they just are not in a position where they can spiritually take on any of that weight.
Yeah.
There's a lot, it's
Maybe
like a
it's
roller
just,
coaster. We
yeah,
have to keep our bucket full, and sometimes it's not. And when
right.
it's empty, you're no good for anybody else. You got
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah. So there could be multiple reasons, but again, I think at the end of the day, um, just not like I keep saying, not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't throw the
Yeah.
friendship away just because
Yeah.
that person isn't ideal in a certain situation, because you just never know what's going on with them either. And you do have to listen, like you said, to your inside voice and have the answers and trudge through the day knowing that tomorrow is another day you're going to be better and stronger
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And know that the universe has a plan for you, right?
always.
And maybe this person's place in your life, the universe is saying to you, we need to take a pause with this person because what's happening is it's clouding your path
Yeah. I
to
remember
enlightenment,
that's
empowerment, whatever you want to call it.
I remember you're so right. Like another situation popped up in my head. When I was like 16 years old, a friend of mine got pregnant and she decided to keep the baby. And she went off to, I don't know, a school for pregnant girls. Um, and I kind of, I mean, I backed away because I didn't see her because she was gone for so long. And then when she came back, she had a little baby, and at 16, how do you relate to something like that?
Yeah.
Like a person having a baby, So, um, our friendship kind of drifted, and years later, her and I are reconnected, but she says to me, it hurt me so much that I lost so many friends when I decided to keep my son. And I said to her, I just had zero idea of how to be a friend to you now that you're a mom, And so
Right.
I was still going out partying and drinking and doing this and doing that and da 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 da. And now she's home, taking care of a little infant. And of course, but she held on to that for so long, the people that she
Mm,
really let her down. And I had no idea that she was holding on to that for
right.
years.
Right.
And so it does affect people. But it does affect people when they think that they've been slighted by their friends, but it's important that we remember that everybody's at a certain growth pattern in their life
Right. Right.
you can only they can only sustain so much. And most of the time it's just
Yeah.
because they're fearful, they don't understand, or it's, you know, it scares them, especially when people are
Yeah.
going through divorce. You know how they say like people think that the divorce is contagious, so like you can't hang with
Mm-hmm.
the couple that's going through the divorce, or else, then you have
Oh,
to kind of
yeah.
look at your marriage really
I
closely.
mean, the things that come to light when people in your life are getting divorced, you're sort of like, oh boy. Agreed.
Yeah.
100% agree with you.
Yeah. So,
And I would suspect the same thing in, in the realm of addiction.
yeah,
There are a lot of people who have, I guess I'm going to call it an unhealthy relationship with numbing agents.
absolutely.
And
Whether they're addicted or not, they're using them
right. I
the way
mean,
that
are they facing 6 felonies? No, but it's an unhealthy relationship.
right.
And when you're looking at somebody farther down the path or started on the same path as you, it's like I don't want to look there.
Yeah. No, I know because yeah, exactly. And the other thing that I found was so isolating was when I was going through infertility treatments. There
Mm-hmm.
is nobody wants to be around a woman who is struggling to have a baby. And guess what? All of my friends were having babies at that time. And every time I saw or somebody was pregnant or I would go to a baby shower, it was like 1,000 knives in my heart.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted to say
Yeah.
to me, I know this is really uncomfortable for you. I'm sorry that
Right.
I'm having a baby
Right.
and you can't. I mean,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
that's a
Because
really tough situation.
it's hard. It's hard
Very hard.
because nobody really, for all of these things, nobody's really prepared.
No,
And rightfully so, correct? Like you don't go into a marriage preparing for a divorce. You
right,
don't go into a marriage preparing for infertility.
right.
You don't go into, when you start having a social drink, you don't go into socially drinking thinking about addiction.
Or you're going to become an alcoholic. Exactly.
Correct. So you just, so I think we don't prepare ourselves, but again, at the end of the day, I think the universe, people, there's an old saying is, God doesn't give you more than you can handle, right?
Yeah, neither does the universe.
Correct. I mean, so we've talked about this, so it's either God or your universe or your higher power does not give you more than you can handle.
Mhm.
And so once we stop really having, obviously the initial reaction is, oh my God, who can help me here? But then it's relying on that inner voice, relying on the mantra that, nothing happens by coincidence. I have what I need. I have the power in there. Um,
Yeah. And it comes down to having
yeah,
faith in whatever it
yeah,
is that you,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. It's having faith. It's being able to take that first step without seeing the whole staircase.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's well,
Yeah, so I wish your friend empowerment and enlightenment is what I wish. I don't
yeah,
wish that this is taken away for her.
right.
I wish her a higher level of enlightenment and empowerment.
Yes. Amen to that.
Mm,
That's so good. I wish us all that.
yes. Yeah.
We all need.
Yes. 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 Yeah. It's crazy. It's
And
crazy, but
we've had a couple people reach out to us and with some really positive feedback about the show. So that makes me happy. But keep
yes,
on reaching out.
you shared a story with me that, really hit home that we're doing good work, we're doing the right thing. And here again, it's one of those things that the universe sort of spoke to us, and it was so bizarre. It was just not a coincidence, but it was so interesting and refreshing and enlightening that even though we had been separate for so long, like the way that we are choosing to live our lives is so similar,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And you know, if we could have an opportunity, if we could be involved in shedding some of those layers, you know, my yoga practice calls it removing the rocks,
Mhm.
and giving other people the ability and the power to remove their rocks, then amen.
Drop
Happy
those
to do it.
rocks. Drop the rock.
Drop them.
Watch
Drop
the
the
ripple
rocks.
effect happen. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Until next time. Namaste.
Namaste. Love you, Deb. Love you all.
Love you all. Love you, Sue. Talk soon.
Bye.